Well, now the teenager who's counting his luck after a near disaster on a train line. Tim Whittaker suffered an epileptic seizure on the platform. He fell onto the tracks as the train approached. What happened next defies belief.
I feel like the luckiest man alive.
We received a call that a male had gone under a train.
My immediate reaction was to take charge and to get under the train.
I thought I'd lost my best friend.
There's no other way to describe it. Tim Whittaker just wasn't meant to die that night.
I feel like I should be dead, but I'm not.
Tonight, his miraculous escape. How the 19-year-old fell onto the tracks, was run over by a train and suffered only minor injuries.
I'm absolutely amazed that I had only so superficial injuries. They could have been so much worse.
He explains the medical condition that made him fall and for the first time meets the men who saved his life.
I just want to thank you and everyone else as well from that day.
It was an ordinary evening, just after 6 p.m. Tim was at the station waiting for his flatmate. But just minutes before the train arrived, the unthinkable happened. You're sitting down waiting for your friend. How do you end up down there next to the train tracks?
Well, I went into epileptic fit, so I believe I would have rolled in my fit and then I would have rolled off the edge.
Fortunately, he landed between the platform and the tracks and not across them. So how you fell was incredibly lucky to be lengthways and looking at all the rocks and things down there, it's amazing you didn't get a bad head injury.
Yeah, it is very amazing. I am quite surprised myself I didn't get hurt more from falling down there.
The train driver saw him and hit the brakes, but it was too late. 3 carriages went over the top of him. Tim lay trapped for over an hour. The first to help was emergency nurse Matt Trudgett, a passenger who was on his way to work.
When I climbed down between the train and the platform, when I did my first assessment, I was surprised to see that he didn't have any life-threatening injuries.
He stayed with Tim until emergency services, including Constable David Graham, arrived.
As I turned up, I basically chucked my helmet on, crawled between the train and the platform, got on my belly and started crawling up along the coals.
Were you conscious while you were under the train?
I feel like I came conscious at the very end of the rescue. It was probably only the last 5 minutes I was aware of being there.
Were you scared?
Very scared. I was incredibly scared that day, but I was also feeling incredibly lucky. I got told there was a train by the guy that was next to me, and it was just an unreal feeling to be looking above myself and just going, that's a train.
How much room do you have?
I probably only had this much room, because I remember when I put my arm up, and I basically straight away was touching the train.
Ironically, while Tim stayed relatively calm, his best friend Lloyd, who he'd been waiting to meet, went into shock.
I couldn't believe it. I was just hoping that he was alive and in one piece and alive, and hoping I didn't have to go and bury my friend.
But those down on the tracks were more stunned by how few injuries Tim had suffered.
He had some scratches and bruises and scrapes and some other damage, but for someone who's just been run over by a train, he was extremely lucky, and nothing short of a miracle, really.
Getting pulled through the train, it was just an unreal feeling. It was very weird.
He was placed in a spine board and he was lifted up between the tracks, and we had to do this 2 times, obviously, to get him to the other side of the train opposite the platform.
Tim was only in hospital for 24 hours. His injuries, a cut to his face which needed only 4 stitches, a separated cheekbone and a large gash to his left leg. These injuries to your legs, do they think that you did this as you fell or from the train?
They think it was from the train, and I think it was something that hangs down from the bottom of the train.
But emotionally, he's still shaken by the ordeal.
When I look at that station, I really am worried by it. I have to just stand back that little bit extra, and it's just hard. But I try my best to not let it affect me.
Tim was diagnosed with epilepsy 4 years ago at the age of 15. He's suffered many fits and is supposed to take regular medication, but admits prior to the accident he'd been slack.
I wasn't taking my medication because I just didn't want to. I didn't care about it. I've not missed a single dose of it since.
With a new lease on life, Tim also made it his mission to thank his rescuers.
So I just want to thank you and everyone else as well from that day. I just want to make sure everyone knows that. Really want that to be something that you know, how much I respect you guys.
Absolutely, Tim, mate. That's what we're here for.
Thank you. I know you're just doing your job, but you're awesome at it.
No worries, mate.
Lucky guy, and Tim plans to return to his studies, hoping to one day be a professional photographer. He should buy a lotto ticket first.